How's everybody? Did anybody not get a book? Everybody got a book? Okay, good, making sure. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Guys, I am so excited to be with you guys. I was sitting outside here and I was listening to all of the laughs. And I was talking, Eric came outside. I was like, who was making them laugh so much? And it was like, I guess it was me. And he was, I mean, it's amazing. You guys already have a ton of energy and Angela and I had a nice conversation a couple of weeks ago about you guys and about the success and everything that you guys have had over the last year. It's just been amazing. It's been amazing. But first of all, I want to say good morning again. I am so happy to be here, but I'm especially happy because I was told that I don't have to do another rollout of some software program today. All right. No, seriously, no portals, no logins, nothing. You're safe today. All right. So, years ago in the beginning of my career, I asked one of my teams, I said, guys, do you think I'm a micromanager? Do you think I micromanage? There was an awkward pause, first of all, and I didn't like that. But there was an awkward pause, and then after a minute, someone finally came up and said to me, well, Eric, we'd love to tell you, but you'd probably just edit our response in. I deserved that back then, I gotta tell you. I really did. And, you may have felt the same way in the past. Maybe you guys have felt like, you were being treated like an assistant, or you were being treated like like a clerk in this industry many years ago. That's how this industry was, that you were directed, you were told, you weren't asked, you weren't empowered. And, but today it's different. And especially here at PMI. Today, the real thing is you guys have flipped the script on empowerment. And I can see it by your results. It's unbelievable. This is now, you guys are rolling out trust. That's what I hear. That's what I see. Trust is where it has to always start. Before you get to empowerment, before you get to results, you have to have trust. You guys are being empowered to be the leaders that you were built to be. You really are. So today, I want to let you know, today is not just a meeting, just this hour or so we're going to spend together. This is a launch pad. Okay, you guys are on a launch pad. You guys had a fantastic year last year, but you guys are taking off to the next level. You're going to the next level of empowerment, of delegation, of accountability, and of results. Once you do that, the results just come. They just come. So today we're going to lift off not into space. However, I kind of remember a couple of residents that probably made me want to go to another planet. Right? You guys feel me? Today we're going to talk about a new way of thinking about leading your teams, how to be a leader, what that means. This is leadership liftoff. So I want to again thank Angela. Thank you so much for having me. And your friendship is truly so important to me, both professionally and personally. Guys, you have an incredible leader here. I've seen her in action. She's amazing. She's empowering. She's got a whole lot more energy than I've got. And she gives you the tools. She tells you what you need. And she's there for you to support you. And she builds trust. And I hope and I know that you guys are feeling that. The results are showing. So, when she and I were talking, she told me about some of your challenges, mobile maintenance. Does that ring a bell? Right, mobile maintenance and some software rollouts. That's why I made a little joke. Trust me, you guys are not alone. When it comes to the software rollouts, it's all over the country. Every management company is going through that kind of stuff, just one after the other. And so your leadership is even more important for you to make sure that those things go smoothly. Challenges, I want you to remember, challenges are when you're growing. That's when you're growing. That's when you're improving. If you're a great leasing consultant and you just lease an apartment, And, the same day, they move in a week later and everything's great. Well, that's great. And we need that. But it's the times that it took you a couple of times to lease to that person. And then you reflect back and you say, what did I do wrong? How could I have improved? Those are the times that you're growing and improving. And after Angela and I were talking, clearly that's what you guys had last year and probably the year before. Lots of growth, lots of improvement, lots of changes. Again, mobile maintenance, rollouts and so forth. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So here's one thing that really perked my ears. I couldn't believe this, guys. 11% growth in revenue last year in 2024. Not just an individual property, the company. Okay, I don't know that I've ever seen that in my career. I've seen individual properties that might grow in 11%. And honestly, a lot of times it was artificial. It was because they had some down units that we put back online, and that caused an artificial growth of 11%. You guys had it was a fairly stable year last year. The growth that you had was no doubt a result of what you guys put in, the time that you put in, the leadership, the delegation, the accountability that you guys had for one another last year to cause that to happen. I did some reviews. I looked at some reviews of the company. I went on a Glassdoor. And just last month, I don't know if do you guys look at Glassdoor at all and take a look at some of the reviews? You should look. You've got one from last month. And someone said that, I quote, they gave you a great review. And by the way, don't we all know that great reviews are real hard to get, right? You have to ask for the reviews. That's what I've always told my teams. The bad reviews are coming, but you have to ask for the good ones because who has time to sit down and give a review? However, when you get a good review, you made a serious impact on that person, a serious impact. And that person is going to be a fan for life. So I quote, this person gave you a good review and here was their advice to management. It said, trust the process. Things finally seem like they are headed in the right direction after many years. That was just last month. Impressive. And I looked at your Facebook page and I saw all the little boutique magazines that have been rating you guys number one in your market, in your community as a management company. That's incredible. I mean, that's just a testament again to your market, your community. You guys are owning it. But we're going to take off. We're going to do even more. All right. So lots of change. I want to talk about the book real quick. I hope you guys take a minute and read this book. It's an easy book. I wrote it last year, Multifamily Memoirs. This book is something you guys are going to be nodding your heads all the time through reading this book. This is I call it the first culture book in our industry. All the books that you see about this industry are how-tos, how to do this, how to do that. This is about us. This is about who we are as professionals and as people. This is about a young lady who graduates from high school. See if this rings a bell with anybody. Graduate from high school, you're looking for a job. Your girlfriend's working in a leasing office down the street. She says, hey, you can come and work with us. And she comes and and gets a job there. And it's all about the twists and turns and everything that she goes through over the first year or two. It's just really, really neat. And everybody can relate. It'll be fun. Next book is coming out in a couple of months. It's about the manager. I'm sure everybody's going to want to know. All right. So listen, enough about me. We're going to get on to the presentation. And first of all, I want to talk about reflecting. I've talked about it a lot here, about 11% growth, about the changes that you've made in processes and so forth. I just want to go through those things. Maya Angelou said, you can't really know where you're going until you know where you've been. So true, guys. You can't live in the past, but you have to know what you learned in the past in order to improve the future. And so, what's happened here? Does this look familiar to anybody? You're the boss, applesauce? Anybody ever said that around here? I've heard it from her. Uh-huh. You're the boss, applesauce. I call that a culture shift. Guys, you know, for all of you who have been in the business for however many years that you've been and maybe other companies and so forth, I'm sure you've seen that quite often they may tell you you're the boss and get it done. But man, God help us if we do something wrong. God help us if we make a decision that they think is the wrong decision. God help us if a lot of things, and you feel anxious and uptight and your job's just not fun. We have to have fun in this business. We go through a lot. It's very stressful what we do, right? In a lot of ways, we have to have some fun, but you have to know that you're being supported. And when she says this to you, you're the boss, applesauce. She means that I expect you're accountable for what I've given you, but I support you. She's being fun with it, and she's telling you, I'm supporting you. It's a culture shift. Not a whole lot. A lot of companies, I'm telling you, a lot of management companies. I know a lot of people in this industry and a lot of companies, they talk a good game, but they do not practice it. You guys are practicing it, and 11% revenue growth proved it. Multiple tech rollouts, mobile maintenance, process changes. These are the things that you went through. This is reflecting on what you went through last year. But these are the changes. These are the shifts. These are the things that you did that created the results that you found. Holding each other accountable. Leadership is no longer reserved for corporate. It's expected from you. How many people feel that sense of accountability more so than they did a year, 2 years ago? Do you feel that? You're feeling like you're being held accountable, but does that feel any more weighty, or does it feel like, hey, they trust me, right? Holding someone accountable is not meant to throw and dump something on you, dumping responsibilities on you. It means I trust you. Accountability means I trust you and you're going to do a good job, but I support you. So please remember that. So these are a lot of things that you guys went through this year that gave you that 11% revenue growth. Okay, audience poll. Here we go. Question. Raise your hand if you've ever waited too long for someone else to fix what you already knew how to handle. Yeah, right. We all have. So many of us. You're twiddling your thumbs. Your boss is saying, no, just wait a minute. I need to think about this a little bit. I need to make this decision. You know, you give them a lease application and everything's fine. There are a couple of little tweaks on it, on the application. Really, no, wait a minute. I may not approve this, or, you know, I don't know if I want to give that discount to that resident for that inconvenience, that thing that they went through, right? You know the right thing to do. I'll tell you what I find maintenance team members go through this more than most. The maintenance guys sit around and they're the ones that know your residents more than we do. They know what makes them tick. They know what is going to really satisfy them. And if we wait too long, they get frustrated. And just imagine a world where we actually empowered our maintenance techs to give a discount or to do something to give to a resident to make them feel like, hey, that person actually cares and the decision's made just like that. Now, there's budgets involved and all other kinds of things. Actually, Angela and I have worked at a company where we had something called Smile Bucks. And it was really cool. And we did something like that where the maintenance techs actually had that opportunity. It works for some management companies and maybe not for others. But my point is, please remember that your team members are watching all day long. Just like parents. How many parents do we have here today? Awesome. So as a parent, you know that when your children are little, even when they're adults, when they're adults, they're watching you and they're taking notes and they're seeing what you do, and what you do says what they can do. They're taking notes, and it's helping to create who they are. So when you guys are acting in this way and you are bottling up the process because you're holding things up, or someone on your team is doing that, this is creating a culture that you probably don't want. It's not efficient. It's not cost effective, right? From micromanage to mission ready. Here we go. Lead like you own it. You guys already do this. I think you already are doing this. You're co-owners anyway, right? I love that concept about there are not enough companies that do that. And I think that's a terrific way to make sure that you feel like whatever decision you make, you're making it for yourself and your family, as well as your residents and your team members. Lead like you own it. And this is what this today is all about. Your job is building trust, building connection, and building culture. That's what we do. I'm just going to go to the next one because it kind of ties in. We're shifting from control to command. Angela and I worked in military housing before, and so we were dealing with the military and commanders and generals, and boy, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. But there's a difference, I'll tell you, when it comes to leadership. The people in control are maybe your sergeants or your corporals. They have authority, but they don't have a whole lot of leaders beneath them that they can assign things to, right? But when you get to the commanders and you get to the generals, to the colonels, those guys have leaders, and they give those leaders responsibilities and hold them accountable. You guys are shifting from control to commanders. Now, you don't need to necessarily have, officers underneath you or managers underneath you. If you're a 200 unit property or 150 unit property, and maybe it's just you and one other person in the office and maybe one or two other people in the field, those people you are commanding. You're not controlling them anymore. That's what empowerment is. That's what accountability is about. You're not controlling. That's what delegation is all about. Who is a recovering delegation problem person? Who had problems with delegation? Yes, come on. Come on. Come on. Nobody can do it better than me. I don't have time to redo it, right? So let me just get it done. Guys, this is about building trust. When you guys go back out into the field, I want you guys to remember that in the morning when you start your day, my day is not supposed to be filled with making sure that the model is open and smelling good and looking good and checking a couple of vacants and make sure that they're ready and these things. You have team members that can do that, and you have to trust them and hold them accountable. You are the commander of your team, and you are here to say, here's what I'm setting as the expectation. This is our expectation for this community or for this team. And you communicate that expectation to the team, and then you hold them accountable and you support them. Because they're going to make mistakes and they're going to do things that maybe you wouldn't have done. And that's okay, because then you communicate again and you give them more feedback. I just did a speech in Boston a few weeks ago, and the subject was giving and receiving constructive feedback. How many people are recovering feedback, have recovering feedback problems, giving feedback, right? It's uncomfortable sometimes. It's uncomfortable, but I encourage you, please remember, it's interesting because just this morning, I have, Angela was talking about a business that I have, doing apartment turnover work. I have painters and maintenance teams and all that kind of thing. And my supervisor's out of town, and so I was on the phone this morning talking to the team, and I needed to give one of them some negative feedback or some constructive feedback, right? And it was uncomfortable. And I just spoke about it 2 weeks ago. So this is not something that you just turn on and turn off and you're good at and not good at. But guys, this is important stuff. You're shifting from control to command. Build that trust in your team. Set the expectations. Next. Mission possible. Okay, we got an exercise, activity time. So we're gonna get into groups. We have 5 tables, 2, 4, 5, 5.5 tables.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so the back row,
And get together.
scoot up, break up, and be on the ends of some of the other tables. I want to be like that.
Awesome. All right.
You're back if she's not in a good space.
So guys, what we're gonna do is you guys got in your group here. What I want you to do is I've got a scenario, a vignette, if you will. And this is about leadership. This is about real leadership challenges. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna read what the challenge is at the bullet. And then you're gonna identify the real leadership challenge. You're gonna decide on the correct response, how you would respond to this challenge. And then for fun, if you want, no pressure, but if you want to be funny and do something like, well, let's do it the wrong way and say, this is how we would do it the wrong way, right? It was funny, I was at my speech in Boston, I did this with the group, and I said, you know those employees that you have or coworkers that you have that are the know-it-alls, and they talk. They, in meetings, they're the one that just control the whole meeting and they won't shut up, right? And then, because we all have them. Sometimes I've been there. And so, and I said, so, and we're talking about feedback and how a leader should be able to give feedback to that person to improve them. And I said, okay, I said, listen, we're gonna shut off all the recording material. I said, okay, it's just us here. There's about 150 of them. I said, it's just us here. I said, so tell me what you really want to tell them. And it's so funny. It took about 10 seconds of silence, and finally somebody said, "Shut up!" Right? So anyway, if you want to come up with a way that would be the wrong way, please feel free to do that. Since I've got 5 groups, I've got 10 here, so I'm going to give you 2 scenarios as a group, and you guys can pick one of them. And then I know it's gonna be a little difficult with you guys, long ways this way. Get together. I'm gonna give you guys about 7 or 8 minutes to chit chat about the scenario. Just pick one of them.
Like the leasing consultant keeps making things that you keep doing yourself, or do you try again? My daughter's one. The right thing to do is to try again. Provide food and try again. Let's read that one.
You're offside and that's that calls that's great. That's lots of
No, but he's the one taking the call. So we're the main interaction. Do you like give him help, walk him through how to fix the toilet, or do you just get figure it out? Yeah. So that you can take care of it. Yes.
So guys, for extra credit, I have some categories here. And, when you guys are looking at your scenario that you're gonna talk about, let me know which one of these categories do you think your scenario identifying, what we think when you're on the fly, these kinds of things happen in a second, and when you're on site. And what are those challenges and where are they categorized? And then you're going to use your brain to kind of figure out a quick response that's the most effective. Can everybody relate to pretty much everything that was on these?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you've been through all of them, right? So let's start with the group in the front. Group number one.
And I am gonna keep scores.
Oh,
So if you can do your bonus content by figuring out which category it falls under, you get a point. Solving it, you get a point. And then if you tell us the wrong way, you also get a point. I know we have some very competitive people in this. Let's make it fair.
I love that. Awesome. All right, group one. What was your, go ahead and say what the challenge was.
Okay, well, we have two different ones, so.
Yeah, so just pick one,
Okay.
pick one and let me.
You've been told to delegate more, but your leasing consultant keeps making mistakes. Do you keep doing it yourself or do you try again? You're the community manager. So definitely delegation and control issues.
All right, you are correct.
The right way to do it is, to try again and talk through the issues and, definitely teach like if it's something that they've never been taught before, obviously teach them how to do it the correct way, or if it's something that keeps happening, you need to communicate with them, like what the issues are, and maybe see like what's something they're not understanding about what they're doing. And then the wrong way to do it is to tell them they're stupid and you never understand anything.
All right, then. Stupid. I like it. All right, so let's dig a little deeper into this, okay? Dig a little deeper. Let's talk about this. So I'm a leasing consultant. I'm making a mistake with inputting the discount, the rent discount into the system. And it's messing up the accounting, right? And I keep making that mistake. And you're coming to me to tell me that. So what questions might you ask me in order to help me with that?
Well, I might ask like to show me how you're doing it so I can see like what you're doing wrong.
Yep, exactly. Ask questions, guys. When somebody's making mistakes in there, and this is, again, this kind of taking me back to my feedback conversation. When someone's making mistakes, they're making mistakes because they don't know. And even more so, they're embarrassed that they don't know. And even more so, they probably are really anxious because they think that you think that they should know, and you're upset about it because they should know. So think about all that's piling onto that person, right? So put yourself in their shoes, listen to them, and ask questions. It's so important to ask questions. Help me understand is one of my favorites. Help me understand. What is it that is going on? And then what you can do is exactly, I think that's a great, what's your name? Mariah. Mariah, I think that's a great way of saying, show me how you're doing it. And then step by step. And you know what? That's that thing about you know, being a recovering delegation person, right? You know, that's the part where you're like, that is so valuable, the time that you're spending doing that with that person, because they're going, and make sure they're taking notes. And then after you walk it through them and you say, okay, show me how you do it. You see where they're making the mistakes. And then you say, okay, now do it for me. Right? And then they do it, and then you give them feedback, and then do it one more time and give them feedback. And then after that, you're gonna say, okay, let's see how it goes from here on out. And then it's really important for you to do follow-up afterward. Go ahead.
There's a question that's missing out of this scenario. Let's say they're a fairly new leasing associate. What's the one question as leaders you should be asking yourself?
You train properly.
Or did you think of our training? Exactly. So always take a minute to self-reflect and kind of go, have I set this person up to be successful with the task that I'm asking them to do? And take some ownership of it and say, okay, well, maybe I did need to slow it down. Maybe my expectations were set a little too high. Let's rewind. Let's go back through some of Jess Beck's trainings that she's put together. Let's get them assigned to one of the next training classes. Or, hey, let's spend an hour or two on a Wednesday afternoon and go over this again, just to make sure that you're tracking it correctly. So always just do a little bit of self-reflecting so you can make sure that they're understanding that you're there to help them, not just give the feedback without lending a hand.
Mhm. So true, so true. And finally, Mariah, about the stupid thing, okay? So listen, the truth is that maybe somebody doesn't say it and doesn't say, are you stupid? But a leader can say something in a way that makes that person feel like, or like they think I'm stupid. You've got to be careful with your words. It's so critical. People receive feedback in different ways. It's so important for you guys to know your team members, to know what makes them tick, what motivates them. You know the ones that are sensitive, that you have to spend a little bit more time with and explain things a little differently to. Take that time, it's worth it. All right, good job, Mariah. All right, second team, who's the speaker? Josh, all right.
All right, we had, your maintenance team refuses to use the mobile maintenance system and still turns in paperwork work orders. What's your move? You are the community manager. The right way would be to just have a one-on-one with said tech and ask him how the system is working for him, what he likes, what he doesn't like, and how we can better assist them on liking it. We're gonna actually pick the technology and change resist.
Correct.
And just let them know, with time, things do change. Paper work orders were when they were, but we're no longer going in that direction. And just give them feedback on the benefits of using the new system, how it can help them with their time, how it can help the team in a whole of why the change was necessary.
Mhm.
And
And
the bonus structure.
Yes.
I was gonna do this like.
yeah, exactly. And the perks that comes with that.
Yep.
And I would say the wrong way would be to just say, it is what it is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
How many people have heard that, right?
I don't care if you don't like it, this is
Yep.
what we're doing.
Yep.
Which I feel like that doesn't really necessarily help the bigger picture of your team.
Mhm.
If anything, it allows that tech or whoever feel isolated in a way of they don't really have help. You're not there to really help them with the change.
Mhm.
Just because, paperwork orders have been done for so long.
Yeah.
And that's all that they know. So you're introducing something that they do not know anything about.
Mhm.
So create a safe space for them, to be able to express what they do like, what they don't like, and then kind of help them curate the cons of it to make it shine a little more light on the positive side of it. So,
Very good, very good. Okay, now let's dig a little deeper.
okay.
Ready? All right, so we'll dig a little deeper. Let's say We all know our maintenance techs, there are a lot of our maintenance techs that are really set in their ways, right? And you can't tell them anything. They know the right way. And they are gonna tell you, they're gonna say, hey, yeah, I like this and I don't like that, but it just doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
It just doesn't work for me. I can do this so much quicker this way, right? So, you know, they're coming back at you and they're not even listening to you, right? So here's something that you could do. And I highly recommend this for a lot of issues that people have with processes. Ask them to work through the problem with you. I want to hear what your recommendation is. How, if you had the responsibility to improve this, how would you do it? Okay. I'll give you a quick side thing that I talked about this too. My father, when I was a kid, he was the president of his HOA association. And we were in a townhouse community, so it was limited parking. And he had a homeowner that had a camper. And he was parking the camper in the parking lot, driving people crazy because you can't do that. And he, oh yeah, I pay my dues. I'm allowed to do that, right? And my dad's like, you got to. He kept putting stickers on there and finding him. He didn't care. So guess what my dad did? He assigned him to be in charge of parking for the entire HOA. He made him director. Now, how do you think he responded to that? He was like, well, yeah, now I can do whatever the heck I want to. But guess what happened? He started seeing the challenges that my dad was going through. And he started saying, hey, now, wait a minute, we have rules here. Right? And he totally flipped the script on this guy. And this guy was fantastic. And he did a great job. And it was because my dad included him in the process. So I recommend that you help them through that, work through it. Okay, help me help you, right? So if you talk to maintenance techs like that, they love when you show them the respect of, I want to know what your opinion is, not just because sometimes I think my opinion is that maintenance techs sometimes think you're just giving me a lip service when you're saying, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. But basically you're telling me it is what it is. And it's sometimes I think they feel that way. I think a lot of us feel that way sometimes. So that's an idea. Any other recommendations real quick on that one? Yeah.
I think there's a lot of fear associated with the technology change.
Yeah.
And I think maybe working into it gradually, saying, okay, we're gonna do a quarter of the work orders online and then keep building it up maybe.
That's great. Yeah. Work with them through this transition. Great job. Thank you. Group three, who's our speaker?
Oh, that's me.
It was me.
My name's Amy.
Amy.
Corporate wants resident review scores up. One teammate says it's not our fault if residents are grumpy. How do you shift that mindset? You are the community manager. So we basically said that it was the third one down, communication and accountability,
Yep.
in combination with dynamics and culture.
Okay, it's good. That's good. I like that. Oh, let's
Yes.
credit.
So our proper response would be, we need to encourage all of our team to be positive, professional, upbeat, happy. You know, not every resident in your community is gonna be grumpy every day. People have bad days, people have good days. You don't know what someone is going through, but do your best to kind of make sure that you're making their day better rather than, you know, to be negative towards them. As Tony said, misery loves company. So if you're grumpy and they're grumpy, it's not gonna help anything. So do your best to take time to listen to everything that they have to say. You need to give them positive feedback and encourage them.
Nice. Very good.
And then the opposite,
would just to, you know, be the misery company and say, "But whatever, you know, if they're grumpy to you, be grumpy back.
Be grumpy back.
They're gonna complain anyway, so why not just let them be out?
Yep. Yeah.
Can we not? Can we not?
can you see that happening? You know what I mean? Talking amongst ourselves on a team, sometimes what happens is that conversation happens. You're talking about some grumpy resident and all you do is talk about how grumpy they are. And then you part ways and you go and get to work and nobody solves the problem because that's a problem. If you've got a grumpy resident, that's a problem. Sometimes they are not consolable. We know this. But let's talk about how can we, do we really know this resident? And so digging a little deeper on yours, I would say, let's talk about if our scores are down, let's talk about the 5 residents that we all know on the property that have the biggest challenges, that are that complain the most. And let's list them and let's talk about why they complain. What are the problems that they have? Yeah.
I need to ask that. I have grumpy residents.
No, you don't. No, you're the only ones.
Interesting resident.
But the one, I remember the other week, one person was, coming at me and I finally said, what do you want me to do for you?
Mhm.
And they were like, I said, because I'm very. Do stuff for research. So terrible brushing. But she was giving me all this time, and when I asked her what she wanted, she couldn't answer me because she was just,
Complaining.
she would take it aback and other times I've asked, are you really, I am very sincere when I say that. I've asked other residents, what can I do for you? What is it? And they say, thank you for asking me that. And then I know it sounds so trite, but then their defense or their wall comes down a little bit when anyone realizes that you're actually trying to speak to them and not at them or above them.
I want to share a very interesting and important story. So for those of you that don't know, Emily Miller had taken over a community here in Mechanicsburg. It's called Delbrook Manor. Delbrook Manor's reviews were atrocious. It was predominantly due to just an overall poor culture within the community. I will say that. And so Emily kind of came in and understanding that is part of our bonus structure. That is part of something that we are striving to do better in. Emily really took ownership of it, and I forget exactly how she phrased it to me when I commended her on her pretty marked increase in her online scores. But she essentially said it was not fair to my team that we were still dealing with the aftermath of prior culture of negativity, prior culture of angry residents. We had to fix ourselves before the residents were willing to trust us to be able to give us the good reviews. So, I mean, she was able to really pivot those online scores pretty quickly. I would say almost within 6 months. It was, from like a 3.1 to like a 4.1. It was quite the market improvement. So that just goes to show if you change your mentality on that, you can create that momentum that gets your residents to buy into, hey, we did something great for you today. Would you mind, taking 2 seconds, scan the QR code on the desks, make sure if you don't have the QR code, you get one. But it really does take the ownership from the resident side of things. They can be grumpy and they're going to be grumpy and they're all going to have bad days, but putting the onus on you and your team to really elevate that culture, elevate those expectations, and create a sense of environment where they feel safe to be able to communicate to you. You can help solve their problems, and then they give you good feedback that you deserve.
Yeah, guys. I mean, I love what you said because putting yourself in their shoes and also talking with them. So often, all of our residents, unfortunately, and this is another reason why I'm writing these books, is because people don't understand that we're real people, right? Behind the scenes, we're real people and we have feelings and care. And we're not just doing this to make money. We're doing this because we care about, we're taking care of people's homes. And it's huge. It's the thing they spend the most money on. And we need to show them that, and they need to feel it. And once they feel it, truly feel it. Now, you can't fake this, right? This is not psychology. You really have to show them how you feel. They will open up. And just naturally, when you did what you did, she's like, oh, wow, yeah, you understand that I have a problem. So let me calm down and talk about it. I think that's terrific. Great job. Thank you. All right, next group. Who's speaking? What's your name?
Tracy.
Tracy. All right, Tracy.
Scenario was we're the community manager. There's a financial variance on the report and the regional's out. Do you try to understand and explain it or just flag it and move on? We are all numbers people here, so we definitely spend time trying to figure it out and move on
Yeah.
and explain it. Be like, hey, this is what we found. We think that it would be under the decision-making and confidence section
Mhm.
because it would show a lack of confidence to your regional if you didn't at least try.
So true.
And then also the really, really wrong way to handle this is to reply back saying, not my job, figure it out when you get back. Here you go.
Killing me.
It's a physical wound.
Oh, my job.
That was like the worst one.
That's great. Love that. Love that. I think that's terrific. And you know what, guys? This is part of this is why you answered that question so easily because this is what you guys do. You're empowered and you hold each other accountable. And even though the regional's out, you know that you're there to pick up the slack. You're there to make sure that these questions get answered. And I'm sure, especially with the numbers people at that table, that not only are you going to explain the variance, but you're going to have a dissertation on how you got there, right? So, I mean, I think that's terrific. I don't have a lot more on that one. I think that's terrific. Any other thoughts or comments about that one? Yeah, that was a great one. All right, last group. Who's speaking? What's your name?
Beth.
Beth. All right, Beth.
So ours was, you notice the maintenance tech is speaking disrespectfully to residents. You're not sure if it's his personality. Do you confront it? And you're the community manager. So we said that we would call them into the office, have a one-on-one with them. First of all, ask them, is everything okay with you? See if there's some light issue, something going on in their life. Show compassion. Then we would address the issue, not attack them personally, but address it, keep it about the issue. We would document afterwards. We would then lay out, here's our expectations, here's what we expect to build with residents. And then we'll continue to check in and make sure that we've seen a change in their behavior. Now, what we wouldn't do, what is the wrong thing to do,
Buckle up.
here's what we would really do. So we would present this person in front of the resident, then we would laugh at them, send the film without pay, the wife, and tell him what a jerk he is, on Facebook, and then we would put out his picture and cell phone number and dollars.
Don't mess with that. Don't mess with.
I was not here. So I did not bring any.
But here's what you don't see, right, is Kristen was up at this table. So much energy. And then she slid.
Oh, my gosh.
All right,
Oh,
so,
yeah, communication accountability, I forgot that.
Absolutely.
all right, so table 3 actually got the extra bonus point because they put 2 stuff in there, so everybody.
Great job. Great job. That was great, you guys. I hope you found some real benefits in this. This really gets your mind thinking and it reminds you of times that you've gone and things you've actually gone through. And you've done these things, right? All right. All right, so now we're in 2025. We've done some reflection. We talked about empowerment. We're talking about now engagement and accountability. These are power moves for 2025. So what does real empowerment look like? Some people think empowerment is just giving people permission to do something else beyond what's on their job description. But it's a whole lot more than that, isn't it? It's a whole lot more than just giving them permission. It's being expected to act with confidence. Now, first of all, in order to empower people and make and ensure that they do act with confidence, you have to have confidence in them. You have to show them that you believe in them. You have to tell them, you have to give them the assignment, and you have to say, you know what, you are the best person for this. I know you can do this. And let them go and let them do it. Let them do. Has anybody read that book, Let Them? Yeah, it's pretty good.
I was saying, to add on to that, when I was talking at table one, and I said, part of the thing you need to do is let you take ownership of what your part is in all of that.
That's
So
right.
a really strong thing that's part of that book. You can let them all day long, but you have to own when you're doing it.
You do. You're responsible again, just like being a parent, right? They're watching you. They're listening to you. They're watching how you respond to them. If you respond to them with anxiety or with hesitation, and you tell them, I've got this responsibility for it, to give you, it's extra, it's more than what I've asked you to do before. This is really important, and we really need to make sure we get it done right. That's not giving them confidence, right? That's scaring them to death. Right? Especially if it's something they've never done before, right? So empowerment is more than permission. You're not just saying, here, I'm giving you permission, I'm giving you the keys to this extra door in the house, and I want you to take care of this. You are telling them that I'm giving you this key because you deserve this key. Because you are, yes, ma'am, Beth.
I was just gonna say, and because a lot of people are used to empowerment, you have to let them know that it's safe for them to fail.
Yes.
And it's okay as long as they learn from that failure, because you will fail.
Yep. So true, so true. And you have to, and again, you can't fake that either. You can't, I've seen a lot of leaders in my past who have said, okay, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. And then they're the same ones that freak out when you did something wrong and they've got to answer for what you did. That's the responsibility and that's the accountability we take as leaders to be able to back up our team. That when something goes wrong, we'll fall on that grenade for them. Okay, we're gonna do that because we trusted them. We'll get through this. I tell people, I can't tell you how many times I've said in this business, there are very few things that you can really completely ruin in this industry, in this business. We can fix like 99.9% of the stuff that, immediately that may happen wrong. So think about that. The word empowerment connotes so much more than just giving permission. Delegation, the recovering delegation people. It is not a weakness to delegate. Some people think that it's a weakness, believe it or not. They'll think, they just don't want to do it. Or how many people, it's funny. 30 years ago, my first boss, he was a regional manager and I was 22 years old and he had me go out. I had no experience and all he did was he made me go out. Now this was before a lot of the computers were out and we had to sign leases and the whole documents in triplicate, original ink triplicate. Anybody have to do that? Remember those days? Oh, and the packets were huge. They had so many addenda, right? You remember those days, right? And so he'd send me out just to do that and approve applications and sign those leases because he didn't want to do it. Because back then regional managers is what they did. And but it's not a weakness. Delegation is actually the most powerful tool of a modern leader. Guys, you don't become your very best leader. You don't become a commander until you learn to delegate properly. You can be called a commander. I know plenty of people who are commanders and have that title and have the title of, president and all kinds of titles, but they're not the leader that they need to be. And eventually it will come out and they'll have to adjust. If you're doing everything yourself, you are the bottleneck. Don't hesitate to think that. It's so critical for you to be able to, in the morning, have your to-do list, assign your to-do list, and then get back to looking at the broader picture. I remember an old boss from years ago, he would say, when you're a site manager, you're looking 2 weeks to 30 days out. When you're a regional manager, you're looking about 6 months out. When you're a vice president, you're looking at 6 months to a year out, year and a half out, and beyond. Stay in your lane when you're looking for, where do I want to be as a leader? Where do I want my team to be? And then you give them those instructions, you delegate to them, and you give them those instructions so they accomplish what you've set out for, and communicate that. Communicate expectations. So critical to tell them what you expect and let them know if they are doing it or not on a regular basis, and help to, God, that's your job as a leader. Keep it inside the lines. The 80-20 rule, don't let the 20% drag the 80. We all have 20%. I call them the steady eddies, right? The steady eddies. Sometimes you've got those people who they do a great job. They work. They're not up, they're not down. They just keep moving. Those people really need your attention. Now, they're not the 20%. I just kind of went off on a tangent here because it's really important. The steady eddies are the ones that are going to leave you the first. They're going to be the first people to leave you if they're not feeling engaged and happy. And they're often the people that we forget to appreciate and to show our appreciation for. I know everybody in this group has a steady eddy somewhere in their group. Go and thank them for what they do and why they do it. Don't just say thank you for being a great employee. Tell them why they're a great employee. Tell them what they do to make this company and your life better. Okay, please do that, because they will leave you and it'll be a shock. And you'll be like, what happened? Because they don't talk. They don't complain. They'll just disappear. The 20%, the people who are resistant to change, resistant to everything, you have those too. Don't give up on them. Challenge the resistant. Challenge that maintenance tech who says, look, I know how to do it, right? Challenge them by asking questions and giving them an opportunity to shine, because that's what they're looking for. Those people who are the 20% that are just dragging behind, we just haven't figured out what motivates them yet. I truly believe that there's only about 2 or 3% of the people that we hire that really need to go. I think the rest of the people, we just need to pour into them in a different way, a more effective way as leaders, to help get them where they need and where they want to be. Change equals opportunity, so own it. Anybody heard her say this too? Don't look at change as a negative. It's an opportunity. Anybody agree with me there? Everybody agree with me there? Change is an opportunity. Change is a catalyst. It's why we improve. It's how we improve. It's what got you to 11% revenue growth. That was change that you made happen. PMI is creating something different. Shared ownership, which again, there are not a lot of companies in our industry that do that. I think it's fantastic. Trust and empowerment. You're going to see that repeated in my speech here, because it's so critical to leadership. Trust and empowerment. Holding each other accountable. Leadership is no longer reserved for corporate, it's expected from you. We talked about that earlier. So far, question for you guys. What change that has happened here over the last year, 2 years, however long you've been here, do you love the most? Yes.
Payroll.
Accounts payable? The change? What change in accounts payable? Anything specific?
It's just that it frees, like you said, it frees up our time to actually then be in front of our residents and whatever we can help.
Great.
Give that little bit more of a to-do list or a not to-do list then.
That's awesome. Have you thanked the accounts payable team?
I talk to Mel all the time.
Good,
I love her.
good. I always tell them, what's your favorite chocolate? Because I make sure I send chocolate. What else? What's your favorite part of your change? Yes.
I would say B, transaction support with deposit accounting, because I used to spend so much time on that for security deposit, and now I don't. And I talked to Tracy Bidding, I think, more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And I do tell her, like, you're awesome, thank you, because
Yeah.
she'll catch things that maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
But it definitely frees up a lot of time, just like with the
Yeah.
EP stuff, like, yeah, it's great.
Awesome, awesome.
And we'll talk about this a little bit more this afternoon during my session. There's a reason why we did some of these changes. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are enjoying them, if you're not like, Jeff, take it from me for my full 10 hands. That was definitely a vibe for a minute, but there's a method as to why we're doing it. And you'll hear more about that this afternoon.
Awesome. What else? What else? Yeah, good. Yes.
This is a change just for me personally. I mean, I know it affects the entire company, but when I started, there was not a regional director for Affordable and State College. And now there is, and this one has.
That's awesome. What's your name?
So
Sue. Way to go. That's awesome. What else? I saw their hands. Yes.
Kind of bonus structure. I'm pretty competitive, so.
There's one back there too. Where'd she go? Oh, she's not in her seat. Yes.
I really like that they're updating and doing more like residential support training. They have like a whole calendar that just put together. I'm a bit of a training junkie, so I like having those opportunities to interact with other folks and to just like even get a refresher, because all of them that I've done so far, even when I'm like, I don't know if I really need to do this, but let's see if we learn anything new. I always walk away with like a new little tidbit where I'm like, ooh, maybe I'm not doing this the way I ought to be, or hey, I didn't even know we could do that. That's great. So,
Oh my gosh, you're recording this, right? This is a great commercial. That's a commercial for training right there.
The majority of our hands-on training right now, so.
Oh, nice. So she got a big thank you right there. That's great. That's great. Yes, there was another hand up here. Oh, okay.
I think that repetition is the key to like really absorbing the information. It's great to have the SOP, but it's the repetition of constantly being introduced to it. So I encourage my leasing agents to like, if you're not busy, get on all of them, because someone might ask a question you had, or something might stick that didn't stick the first time. So I love that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes.
I haven't been with the company that long, so I don't know the changes that have happened over time, but my previous employer, super micromanagers, and my regional is not. Which I absolutely love, because it actually makes me feel like I'm an actual community director.
Leader.
So it doesn't make me feel like I'm some glorified leasing agent. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's great.
Yay,
Okay.
Sue Reed.
All right, that's gonna be a commercial for my presentation. And I'm gonna put that in there before the presentation. That's great. That's great. What else, guys? One more thing. Yes.
I like the maintenance mobile app because the guys would either date it wrong or half the time I couldn't read their writing.
Yeah, right. That's so true. That is so true. I love it. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so cool. I mean, just to hear all of this, I mean, I just saw hands go up all over the room. I can't tell you that this kind of participation, this kind of feedback, you don't see very often. You guys are in a very, very special place at a very, very special time. I assure you. I say that from years of experience, and so enjoy it, grow, and keep doing this. So Angela told me that this is what most people love most about the changes we've had, the trust I'm given to do the right thing. So simple, but so impactful. I mean, there's so much in that little sentence. The trust I'm given, trust You have to have trust to have empowerment. You have to have trust to be effective at accountability. You have to have trust. You have to trust in order to delegate, right? All of those things, you have to have trust. You're being trusted to do the right thing. So everybody wants to do the right thing. Everybody does. But you feel like you're being heard. People are listening. They understand you. The company understands you and understands that, yeah, I want to do the right thing. I think I know what is the right thing to do here, and you're trusting me to do it. So there's so much depth in this one statement. This is your new default setting, and I just challenge you guys to tell your teams this and to make this your goal, that your staff, your teams feel this way as well. All right, here we go. One more audience participation. Everybody stand up. I think I've done this. I think Angela, I think we've done this. I think I may have done this as well. All right. And I don't know if anybody else has. All right, you ready? Everybody, I want you to raise your arms. Raise them up. I want you to raise them high. I'm not kidding. As high as you can go. Keep on. Raise them up. You ready? Now go higher. I got all of you. Now sit down. What did I just teach you?
There's no limits.
There's no limits. What else? What did it teach you?
To always go higher.
Always go higher.
And always do better.
You can always do better. Guys, I mean, seriously, I said several times, go as high as you can. And then I said, go higher, and you did it. Now, 11% growth, that's in the past. Okay, it's time to go higher. Right? It's time to go higher. Listen, I'll give you another story. Something that I did with a team years ago. This was years ago. Everything was years ago. I gotta stop that. I'm really making this sound like I'm old and I'm just. But so I had a leasing team and we were in a stable market. We were all the competition was about 96%. We were all, rents were maxed out. Everybody, all the rents were as high as they could go. And, and our growth wasn't where I needed it to be, because, we're just kind of stagnant. We're as high as we can go, right? And we're just trying to push it and everybody, hey, let's do a $25 rent increase. Let's do this, let's do that. And, oh, no, we can't do it. It's just, everybody keeps complaining and they're going to the competition for $25. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so here's what I did. I said, guys, I'm going to give you a challenge. I picked a 1-bedroom apartment. I gave them I gave the leasing consultants, I gave them $250. This is like 20 years ago. I gave them $250 and I said, you guys can do any upgrade in that unit that you want, that one unit. However, I want you to rent that for $100 more than it's going for right now, that one unit, $100 more. And we were already significantly above our market and our competition. And of course, you could see the eye rolls, right? And they're like, come on, it really, but I had a couple very competitive people on my leasing team and they took it and they said, okay, we're going to try it. They leased that apartment in a week for $100 more than market, than our prices, about $175 more than competition. Same square footage, same amenities, everything in a week. And I think they did an accent wall or something crazy. It wasn't about the $250. It was about raising your hands just a little bit higher and giving them that challenge. That's what leadership is. As a leader, you are here to challenge your team. Yeah, we've got the empowerment, the accountability, delegation. That's yeah. We've already talked about that. But now it's about the energy and it's about the drive and it's about pushing your team to a level that they never thought they could reach. That's the good stuff. That's the fun stuff once you get to that level. So I encourage you guys, I challenge you guys to try something like that because it works. I've done it I've done it several times after that. I couldn't believe it myself. Anybody do anything else like that, that they've challenged their team to something, to push them a little higher? Anything that comes to mind? It's okay if it doesn't. Anything that comes to mind that you challenge your team and they actually like, wow. Well, I didn't think we could do that. Yeah,
So during COVID, we were down at maintenance guys, had 450 units in Wilmington, guys working from. And he came to me one day and he said, I just can't do it. I said, you absolutely can. He said, no, it's just too much. And I said, you need to organize your day
Mhm.
and take one situation at a time. He was just overwhelming himself with how many work orders he had, the turns that he had to get to, meet the deadlines.
Yep.
So a little delegating and oversight, he was able to get through it. And he came to me 3 months later and said, I didn't think I could do this. I said, I know you could.
oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
That's so great. You improved. I mean, and that person takes that with them everywhere they go. A couple of weeks ago, I lived down in the Virginia Beach area. And in my turn business, I visit a lot of communities, and I don't know, I managed properties there for about 10 years for a little while. And it was one day I just happened to visit like 4 different apartment communities, and there was somebody that used to work for me at all 4 of them. And it was like crazy, right? It never happened again. But it was so cool because all of them had some really cool stories to talk about and things that they remember about our times together. And those are the memories that you guys are making right now. Those are the memories you're making right now with your teams. And they're going to take that with them. You have an awesome responsibility as leaders and an awesome, it's a burden, but it's a good burden to carry. All right, guys. So we're coming down to the wire. And I want to know what you guys are going to do next after we've talked today. I want to know, what are you going to do to lift off to the next level? Before I throw out some examples, anybody have any ideas of what today has given you from what we've talked about? What's it given you that you're going to do tomorrow different? Yes.
I will try to delegate more to my native supervisor.
That's great. Self-reflection. Good. Awesome. What else, guys? What else? Yes.
Come up with like a new plan on how to attack all the challenges that are coming at us differently every day and become more notice about this.
Great. Awesome. Yes.
I keep looking, the notes that I've taken, I keep writing the word trust. And I need to learn to trust myself more and trust in the trust that Sue definitely shares that she has in me.
That's great. That's great. It's true, quite often, and that's very common, that most of us don't have as much confidence in ourselves as our people around us do. And you know why? It's because they see what we do. We judge what we do, right? We're judging ourselves constantly, so it's difficult sometimes. But the people around us see the results, and so that's why it's easier maybe for them to trust. But that's a great comment. Yes.
I was just going to actually just piggyback on that I'm getting out of this, that I do, I get intimidated very easily, but I realize that I have a lot of support. I just need to take advantage of it instead of, being resistant.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate that.
Wonderful.
Speak today. Jess.
That's awesome. You guys are so open with it. I love this. You guys are so open with one another. It's wonderful. There's already a ton of trust and it's fantastic. Okay, so here's some ideas. You're welcome to take a picture of the thing, or if you can't see it, I'm happy to send the slides. I will give clear, timely feedback to my team, both positive and corrective, without avoiding the tough stuff. Talked about that a little bit, right? I will stop doing tasks I should be delegating and start trusting my team to handle more responsibility. I will show up every day like I own the asset, because as a co-owner, I do. I will initiate at least one meaningful conversation per week with a team member about their growth, not just their tasks. We didn't talk about that too much, but guys, that's so good. People love, I had a vice president who lived on the other side of the country, and she managed, 75 properties. And she would come to my property, and she'd come, once every 6 months? And she still knew my son's name and asked how he was. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty amazing. Get to know your team, get to know your team members. I will stop waiting for direction and start acting like the leader my team needs. Again, an awesome responsibility. Guys, these titles that you have are so important. You have the hands of a lot of people in your hands, and they look to you for support and guidance. They look to you for growth. They're looking to you for leadership. So your next level starts here today. Leadership does not come from a title or a spreadsheet or a corporate policy. It comes from you deciding today that you're the person that your team, your property, and your residents need, not someday, but now. It's this time to take it to the next level, lift off to the next level, own it, lead it, and lift off, guys. I am so happy to be here. I thank you guys so much for this. This has been a great. This is a QR code for my LinkedIn. If please, please connect with me. I would love it. I'm gonna post a video about you guys today. So I'll be talking about you guys and please, I love comments, anything positive, negative, whatever. I love to hear it. Okay, thanks again. Thanks.
Huge shout out to Eric driving all the way up here in this weather from Virginia Beach. I've driven that drive a handful of times when I lived down there, so I know it's gonna be a bear and all that. Is there any questions for him, like throughout his career, or, I always like to ask, because this fascinates me, because I've seen him in various states of his career. Like, what was the catalyst that made you say, I'm gonna do my own thing now? I think that'd be an interesting story to hear.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I love the business. I love property management. I love people. I love to communicate and do everything that I do. I was, for the last, 25 years or something, I've been a senior leader of some sort, in the corporate office or traveling across the country. Oh my gosh, traveling. And I just never had enough time. My personality, when I get to a site, I just want to pour into it, and I want to, just like I'm doing with you guys. And I wasn't able to be that kind of leader that I needed to be in my job, but do what my passion is. And this clearly is my passion, and hopefully you guys see that today, that this is what I love to do, that I have a heart for the site, our site level teams, especially maintenance techs. By the way, one quick thing, I was talking to Eric about this earlier. One thing that drives me crazy about, excuse me, about how we treat our maintenance techs is, and I don't know if we do it here or not, but if you have you ask them to get good reviews, get a good Google review for your work order, right? And then, you may give them a Starbucks card or something, in this company store or something. But then yesterday, they just installed 2 air conditioning units in 105-degree weather, and nobody said anything. That's what they really want to hear. Thank you for that kind of stuff, right? So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I finally just said, it's time. Gotta do it.
Any other questions for Eric?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I had a question. What made you want to share your story? Like, why now?
Why now? I want to share my story. I want to, like the book and everything else, is because I feel like I'm at a point where I have enough knowledge and experience that is going to be useful to the teams today as they grow. I found that COVID, in my opinion, caused a lot of people who started in our business during COVID, didn't get the kind of training and leadership and support that they needed. And they're kind of playing catch up. And I feel a strong desire to feed into that segment as well. Yeah. Yes.
I see this is volume 1.
Yep.
We're working on 2.
Volume 2 is about Amanda, who's the manager. I'll give you a little sneak peek. At the end, Amanda's been called into her regional's office, and at the end of this book, and it starts off there.
They're really getting us all with volume 2. I think.
Every change is an opportunity.
Yes.
Sorry, one last question. Since I know all of us are, I don't know, maybe not so good at this. Do you feel that your delegation skills in the, in the years that you've been doing this allows you then to be able to turn it off though at night? Turn off the work, focus on whether the family, the home life, I know there's so many of us that work till, gosh knows how long. It's regional.
The night shift.
So true. Great question. Boy, I could probably do a whole thing on that one, man. But I'll tell you, in my opinion, what I have found is that when I have the right team or I have the right leader to delegate to, that I have actually, and that takes time to build that trust, to empower and accountability, the whole thing, to get them where you need them to be. Once I have that, it's beautiful. But you know what happens? And again, from experience and trust and time and all this, what happens is you lose that person really quickly because they get promoted. So you got to start it all over again. But I have learned you've got to let it go. You've got to turn it off. And I'll tell you, my wife helps me a lot. She'll come in and just turn the lights off and say,
Maybe don't play.
No, she doesn't play. She knows that. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah.
Not a question, but I feel like everything we said today had a really deep meaning in this business because we all are in a rush. We're all quick to do. The workload is heavy. The day never ends. We want to finish the job at the end of the day, but we know in property management, the job doesn't end at the end. There really is no end to it, but the positive enlightenment and the support and the team and building, it really goes a long way, from a leader down the line. Just watching your team grow, giving them the support that they need. And it starts with us. It starts with us in the office and it goes out in the field. And that he had a lot of good insight on where COVID was, where we are. And we kind of forgot to say thank you or appreciate you, or I probably tell my maintenance guy about 10 times a day I appreciate you. Because they're the main important part of property management. Like we need them. And it goes unnoticed in their busy day, we sit at the office all day and we're answering phones, but the time out there is a little bit harder. So it's really important to just share positive enlightenment. I once sat on somebody who beat me up every day and I tried. And I was like, just stick it out, just stick it out. And that would have been the best enlightenment he gave me because it took me to a regional meet where I now shine down on other people sharing that positive enforcement. It really goes a long way. Think about your team, because it starts with you and they really feel it.
So true. So true. Make sure when you thank your maintenance team, tell them specifically what for. Because we're all guilty of that. We'll say, thanks a lot. I really appreciate all that you do. Tell them some specific things and they love that.
And not just your maintenance team, your leasing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Everybody. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, I think that we're our biggest critics, so thank yourselves.
Yeah.
Just because again, if you don't get the thank you from who you think that you should, look yourself in the mirror and just say, Josh, you did the best you can do today. You did the best that you can do, pat yourself on the back, because we're our biggest critics and we judge ourselves the hardest. And we always feel like, oh, I could have done more, but use every day as a new
Call
day.
number ticket.
You have to use every day as an opportunity to be better than you were the day before. Yes, that's right.
And I think you'll find, and we're gonna talk about this a little bit more this afternoon, I just want to kind of give you a kind of a heads up that we're gonna talk about this, so really start thinking about it, is previously, we were all, especially those of you who have been with us for a hot minute, we were very siloed, right? You were masters of your universe, you ran your community, you were in charge of your world and your world only. We are really moving towards a true collaborative environment where you have all of these different resources, whether it's accounts payable, whether it's, centralized training, whether, you're probably never going to go to centralized leasing, true centralized leasing, but you have the support of leasing and marketing people in this office. You have maintenance people in this office that if we need an extra hand or we have some REAC inspections that we need to get all hands on deck, we are really moving towards, we are one giant group of co-owners. We are responsible for not just your own community, we are responsible for the success of the entire company that we own. And so really looking at things a little bit differently. I know, in the beginning, there was a lot of this like, nope, this is mine, don't touch my deposit account. I like paying all my bills. I like seeing every utility bill that comes in, and this is why, and we understand that. But it's been really cool to hear the comments of how much support that you're getting, how much the environment has changed, and how much you're really starting to pick up the value of the additional support that we've been able to offer. So we'll talk more about that this afternoon. Again, for round of applause.
Good job. I'm gonna do a group shot of you guys. Everybody in there? All right. All right, great. Thank you. Guys, thanks so much. And there's LinkedIn or